Hi everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Desteni I Process live Google Hangout. We do Hangouts here from the Desteni I Process every Thursday, and for quite some time we've been busy working a series on practical self-empowerment. Today's Hangout, we're doing it a bit earlier than we usually do because we have a special guest with us today all the way from Australia. Hi Anthony, welcome to the Hangout.
Hi Anna, how's it going?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks.
And as always in these Hangouts, we are doing a Hangout on a specific topic. So basically, we have invited a guest to come and share a specific point that they've walked through in their life and in their process, that they have, something that they've struggled with, and then that they've then worked with and actually stood up from, or are working a process of standing up from, and they come to share how they have done that and how they've worked this practical process, so that you who are watching, if you're having a similar issue in your life, you can actually take some of their tips and suggestions and apply them to your own life, and support yourself. And as always, we invite you and encourage you to participate in the live conversation if you're watching this live on Google Plus or on YouTube. And you can do that by logging into our Google Plus event, and there you can type in your question and your comment, and Anthony and myself can actually reply to your comment live here on the Hangout. If you're watching this, the recorded version, then you can place your comment or your question in the YouTube section of the video, and we'll make sure to give your question to Anthony. So without further ado, let's talk about the topic of today's Hangout. So we're talking about the fear or the struggle with asking for support and assistance. And Anthony and I talked a little bit before the Hangout that this is something that many people face. A lot of people struggle with when they actually need someone else's support, when they, for whatever reason, need to ask for help or need to ask for support. They struggle with it for whatever reason. So Anthony, how did you experience this in your life? Was it like a fear you had, or how did you experience asking for support?
Yeah, for me it was definitely like a really strong fear. Throughout, I was kind of born like a really quiet child. I was really shy and I never spoke to anybody basically. And in school, that was where I first encountered this kind of fear or refusal to ask of assistance or advice, where like I was like studying and I never asked like a teacher for help or assistance. I was just so shy, and I felt like I'll be like embarrassed if it looks like I need help all the time. And I went into like self-judgment about that. So, and that's, yeah, like I just never wanted to ask for help for that reason. So that's where I first encountered it, at school. And throughout like all my schooling, like I've pretty much never asked for help. So I basically got answers wrong all the time, and I wasn't willing to just put my hands up and just get some advice and just like better myself as a person in my answers. So yeah, that's where I first encountered this.
It's quite interesting, because when you say it, it makes complete sense. And I already knew it, but I hadn't really thought about it. But I mean, you're right. I mean, that is where we learn. It is specifically through school that we learn either that it's wrong or to fear asking for support. And it's kind of weird because, I work as a teacher, and I think that there is this idea from the perspective of the school or the teacher that, the students should ask for help, or they should ask when they don't know anything or when they don't know something. But it's kind of like the way the school itself is set up, with the whole thing where you have to put your hand in the air and you have to, like, who gets the right answer, and you kind of feel like you're on the spot. And I think a lot of us have probably experienced, when you then get it wrong and then the other students laugh or the teacher laugh, or you feel like it was stupid, and then it develops this fear of and then we can talk more about this as well, how it then can develop into your adult life. But that's kind of cool. But is that how you experienced it in school?
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah, I can remember like as a young child, like asking, I mean, I may have tried it once or twice, like asking questions or for advice of my teacher, and then like people, like other students, like laughing at me and what I was asking of, and then I really went into like a panic and embarrassment, and it was like really powerful, and I felt, I mean, that definitely stopped me from wanting to ask of anything. So yeah, it can be, yeah, it's quite a strong like emotion, like to just like the fear and the embarrassment. So yeah.
And then maybe if you're already a kind of quiet or introverted child, maybe then kind of is even more emphasized, because already speaking up is not something that necessarily comes easy to you.
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, like I said, I was basically born like just as an introvert. So it's just, I just thought it was just the way I am. So and I thought I couldn't change it in the end, but you know, I have changed. So yeah.
So how did it then like progress into, you could say, other areas of your life, or it kind of became, you know, something that kind of limited you later on in life?
Yeah, well, it's happened a lot. Like even in the, like while I've been working, like I was, even in work like situations, I was still too scared to ask for advice, like how to do something. Like if I was new to a store, like I wouldn't ask for help. Like I wouldn't ask like, how do I do this? How do I talk to a customer this way? I still just like kept it all bottled inside of myself, and it just became like just so much weight on my shoulders, just keeping it all in myself. So yeah, but yeah, it's definitely like from school to the work, you know, like a similar thing. It's only since I started like my process with Desteni that I've been able to kind of break myself free from this, and like be able to like open myself up a lot more. So yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at how it's kind of absurd in a way, because it's like the idea, you know, it's this almost like a kind of paranoia, where it's like you think that you're supposed to know everything, you know, like you, because you said you started a new job, and it's completely obvious that of course you don't know, you know, of course you don't know, of course you
Yeah.
have to have. And but then we create this idea that not knowing is, you know, like either it makes you stupid, or like you said, you know, to then constantly ask questions that maybe others become irritated or annoyed. Or how did you experience that? Like what was the thoughts involved?
Well, what was that again? Sorry.
Like what
What
were
was
the
your
thoughts
question?
that were like, because I think, you know, when you were, for example, starting the job, did the thought come up within you of, oh, I should ask someone, or I really want to ask someone, but then maybe you had some thoughts that kind of prevented you, you know, like, oh, they're gonna think I'm stupid, or I should already know what to do, for example?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely had that, the back chat, like the thoughts, I should know what I'm doing already. Like I just should know. I should know everything just right off the bat. And like you said, it's impossible for that to happen because, you know, it's a new job. Like I don't know what to do. I don't know the environments. I don't know the people. So I mean, how it doesn't even make sense for me to like know everything right from the start. So that belief though, that I should know everything right from the start. That manifested in me through, yeah, just not wanting to ask for anything. So it's strange how I had that belief in the first place, but yeah, I had it. So, and it really took an impact on me.
So what have you seen have been the consequences of being afraid of asking for support? Um, what were the consequences that came off of that? You mentioned a little bit before that one consequence in school was that you got the wrong answers because you weren't, you know, able to ask someone that could then help you find the right answer. But have you experienced other consequences?
Yeah, one specific example, it's probably happened about a year ago. I was looking for work, and I got a job in like a warehouse environment. So it was kind of like a lot of heavy lifting and moving, you know, like big boxes and pallets and cases and things like that. And I was just new here, and I got told to like lift these. They were like these kind of gas bottles, and they were really heavy. And so I got told to do this by myself, to just do it on my own, to move them onto this this like ramp sort of thing. Anyway, I was like, I just moved one, and it was like so heavy, like I could feel like pain in my back and everything. And I just continued to do the whole lot without asking anyone like for help. So, and I really could have done with some help there, like, because through that, I ended up having to go home because I just like did something to my back. I like pulled muscles or tore ligaments or something. So through not asking for help, you know, I got like back injuries, and I probably could have done like permanent damage, but I had to go home. And I didn't ask for help because I thought, my employer asked me to do it by myself, I thought, okay, I should be able to do this, you know, I should be able to move these gas bottles by myself. But when I actually did it, I was like, these are so heavy, and I just couldn't manage it by myself. So I definitely should have asked for advice to move these gas bottles, because it would have stopped me from getting these back injuries.
It kind of reminds me of how, you know, there are a lot of things we do through the way that we kind of toward things, or we change things in our mind, and then it's like you're willing to actually you know, because you could probably feel as you were doing it that, oh shit, this is painful, and I know that I'm doing it wrong, but I have to keep going because I can't, you know, stop and ask. But there are so many things in life where we do this, where we would rather compromise ourselves than, you know, risking to lose face, for example, or risking to, you know, be embarrassed, or so that's a shame that it has to be that way.
Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah, the compromise. Yeah, I can really relate to that in terms of this. So, yeah.
And then also what I've also found, I don't know if you found this as well, but that, you know, this point with asking for support, that it, from what I've seen, it tends to be more males that have this fear, or that, so there is also, and it's kind of strange because you would imagine that in the modern society that we live in, you know, that it's not like that anymore. This whole thing with, you know, you have to be a man and you cannot show signs of weakness. But it's kind of like somehow it's still coming through in the education or the upbringing. Is that something that you've experienced as well? Like that it also had to do with, you know, having to be a man, and like in that, you know, in the example you shared, it's like, you know, I have to be strong. Have you seen this as well?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we spoke about that earlier, but I haven't seen it particularly in males. But it makes sense also, like the strong thing, like definitely like in relation to my example. Yeah, like I wanted to show how like tough I was and strong I am, and I just thought, you know, I have to be like this. But no, I haven't really thought about that or seen that, like just the males being the main ones that ask for help as opposed to the females. But yeah.
It can also be, you know, you have the, like the inferiority aspect, that's like, you know, I'm afraid of asking for help and maybe I will look stupid. But then there can also be the opposite, which is like, you know, I have to figure it out on my own. Like I don't need anyone's help. So maybe that's kind of more how it is also for males, that I don't know if it's like that for you, but where it's kind of like refusing to ask for help because you think that, you know, I can handle this on my own.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that's what happened to me. Like I thought I could do it all myself, but it wasn't from a point of like ego, like, oh, I'm so good. I don't need anyone's help. Mine personally was just pure fear, like embarrassment and fear of that. So maybe some have it from a point of ego perhaps, but I can't relate to that personally.
Yeah. I know that, for example, from my partner, something that we've often talked about is that, you know, he often doesn't have, I don't know how to explain it, but like he can cope with quite hard situations. Like for instance, you know, just having a blanket, you know, even though you're cold, or I don't know how to explain it, but kind of, you know, not having quite so developed in saying, you know, I want a warm blanket because my feet are freezing. I don't know. It's not entirely the same point, but it's kind of related to the same point of, because that was also what happened with you in that situation with the gas bottles, in that, you know, you couldn't do what was best for your body. So I've often seen that it's also this kind of like soldier, you know, have to power through it, have to push through it. You can do it. You can do it. And then it's really a shame because, like you said, you could have actually permanently injured yourself. That would have been really bad.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I could have been like crippled for the rest of my life and just like lost my life, like lost my mobility, and just from one single, like just asking for advice. Like it seems like such a basic point, and just yeah, I mean, I don't regret it now. I mean, it's good. Like, I mean, again, like through my process with Desteni, I've been able to open it up and see why I did it, and to like change my habits from this point forward. So, you know, at least I can change. So yeah.
So let's talk about that. So how did you then start opening it up? Was it like you realized, was it after that incident that you were like, okay, I have to do something about this now? Or how did you start working with it?
No, it was, yeah, actually, that wasn't the main point that made me want to, that wasn't the main example that made me want to change. That's just like another example from various examples that have happened to me. I just, yeah, like it wasn't until I encountered Desteni that I like knew that I could change this aspect of myself. And I did it through writing, like the Desteni process, like writing, self-forgiveness, like that helped me like so much that I can't explain. So that was the starting point of that. And yeah, also just talking more just in generally, like just opening up more like with whoever, you know, or just talking and asking questions that way. It all like helped me to be able to actually ask questions in situations where I wouldn't usually. So just kind of the talking more, because like I said, I've always been like so quiet and like an introvert. So yeah, just the talking, like talking more and more, it really helped me to like push this emphasis of asking for advice and assistance.
So as you were writing about this point with asking for help, did you then start looking also at your childhood memories from school that you were mentioning before?
No, I didn't really, I haven't looked at any specific memories from school. It's kind of just like, just the aspect of just not asking for advice or assistance. I mean, I really just looked at that, but what was that?
I said like the general fear, the experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, so far, I've really grown within the points. But yeah, I might have to look for additional memories from childhood, but I'll see whether they come up or not in the future.
Yeah. So you wrote about it, and you wrote self-forgiveness, and then did you then like make a commitment to, okay, so now I'm gonna go out and actually change this in my world? Like, how did you go about that?
Yeah, I did. Like, I like committed myself to like when in situations, like it's because for me it was mainly in like groups. Like for me, like if I'm just speaking to one other person, I didn't feel as kind of embarrassed to ask for advice or assistance. But it was like in the group aspect, like 3, 4, 5 people, because I guess it just meant like more people would judge me if my question was like stupid or whatever. So yeah, so I kind of committed myself to like, no matter how many people I'm with, how many people in the group, just to ask for advice or assistance or ask questions. And yeah, it worked, you know, like I'm doing it like a lot, and yeah, no, it's really helped me to yeah, like really prove that for myself.
That you can actually change. You can actually change something about
Exactly.
yourself that you thought, you know, this is always like, this is who I am. It's always going to be this way.
Yeah, like I said, like if I didn't encounter Destiny, like I would have been the same person. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do vlogs or anything, like, you know. So it's really helped me, just Destiny, like in every single aspect. So yeah, yeah.
So how was it like, you know, the first time that you had to go out and test your application? Were you like, okay, now I'm going to do it? Or was it more natural?
Um, no, it was still like a hesitancy. Like, I had to. It probably took me a few occasions to actually start like asking for advice and assistance. Like the first few times, I think I was still like kind of like nervous. Like I just kind of kept it inside me. But eventually, you know, I just kept calm, and I breathed, and yeah, eventually, you know, I felt like I could, you know, like work up the courage, I guess, to ask questions and for advice and assistance. So it was like it started slow, but I worked my way up, and yeah, yeah, like it just takes, it's slow initially, but then, yeah, I kept going, and then, yeah, eventually I built up the courage to do so.
Was it very cool afterwards? I could imagine it was like, yes, I did it.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Like it felt really good. Like, and also another thing, like in the group aspect, one thing I didn't consider at the time was like other people could have the exact same like question as I did, and
Mm.
so me asking it, you know, it kind of others can like relate to that. So it helps another as well, because maybe they had the same like issue as me. So I've actually seen that too. So like, yeah, like someone's like, I've asked for assistance or advice or a question, and they've been like, yeah, I was going to ask that too, you know. So that was cool as well, you know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
It also shows that it's not personal, you know, it's not just about you.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, we all a lot of the time come from the same, like the same kind of point, and we have the same questions, and want the same advice and everything. So yeah, yeah, no, it's cool that just me, it helps myself, but it can also help another at the same time.
Yeah, I've experienced that as well, not so much in relation to, you know, necessarily asking for support, but more like asking if there's something that I didn't know. So you know, someone would say something like a teacher, because of course for me it also comes back to school, which is kind of does for everything, and you know, all of these points. But then my tactic would be to pretend like I knew. So someone would be talking about some subject, and I would be like, yeah, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and I would have no idea what they were talking about. And so, and that was really, you know, it created this you know, feeling of deceiving people, and also like being afraid of being exposed as being stupid, or as being, you know, not as smart as I'm pretending myself as. And then actually getting over it, and, you know, being open and saying, you know, when someone says something, or for example mentions a word that I've never heard before, or a concept, to then say, hey, what does that mean? And it was really interesting, because before you do it, there's this, you know, fear of being seen as stupid. But then when I did it, it's kind of like, in a way, like you're embracing yourself, and you're embracing where you're at, and that it's okay that you don't know. um, And then, like you said, it's really cool that then can translate to other people, that they then can, for example, who also has this experience, that they then can see, okay, but it is okay to not know. It is okay to ask for support.
Yeah, because like, yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, nobody knows the answer to everything. I mean, that's impossible. Like, we can't all like succeed in life, you know, just through by ourselves. You know, we all need advice and support at some stage in life, at most stages in life, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that is again kind of absurd, you know, that I was thinking, you know, I should know this word. Like how, you know, I don't know all the words in the English language or in the Swedish language. So that's absurd to think that there's then something wrong with me because I don't know this word. So I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, we don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to ask you, because you know we're seeing that this can be traced back to our experiences in school, and you know that I'm very interested in education, and as I see it, it's kind of because of the way that school is set up that it becomes like this, you know. So you have the 30 students in the classroom and the teacher is calling on them, and it creates this very uncomfortable dynamic. So if you look back at your own experience with being in school, what do you see could have supported you to feel safe enough and to be comfortable with asking questions and asking for support?
I think just kind of pointing out, I guess, by the teachers that it's okay to ask questions, and yeah, I don't really know the answer to that, how it could improve the environment, but yeah, just like just the teachers like pointing out that it's fine to ask questions, and like maybe even like say like it's necessary to ask questions. Um, yeah, yeah.
I would also think that, you know, that thing with calling on the students, maybe because it's kind of a conundrum, because of course you want all the students to participate, but it kind of creates this pressure. But I've actually experienced what you're saying there, because you know, when I say this to my students, often, you know, if I say, you know, it's okay to ask questions, then they actually start asking questions. So it's kind of like they need that encouragement. But then I was also thinking that a really important point is the class sizes, because you were talking about how it's often more difficult in groups. And I think that being fewer people together, or at least in the beginning, you know, that you sit more in a smaller group, that it's more comfortable to ask there.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Like, because if it was like 30 people, yeah, yeah, I definitely see that too. Like smaller groups, maybe like classes of 10 or something. For me, when I was in school, it was probably, I was in like classes of 20 or 25. So yeah, I think that smaller classes will help like encourage the asking of assistance as well and support. So that would, sorry, that would require, I guess, like more teachers and things like that. But I'm sure that would be possible.
Then another point that we could also look at is the way that parents respond to when children ask questions, because I think that's also a big part of it. You know how, you know, that like classic answer where you ask something as a child and then the parent says, because, like, that's just the way it is, stop asking so many questions.
Yeah, exactly.
have you
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
have you experienced something like that as well in relation to like adults in general?
Yeah, yeah, I have. And they kind of don't even like give me an explanation as to why I can't do something. Like it's just like an unwritten rule sort of thing.
Yeah,
And it's really not helpful. Like you need an explanation to know why I can't or can do something. So really need that explanation to like know why I can't do something or why I can do something.
I think a lot of adults, they also forget how you know, how easy it is to influence a child, because I remember experiencing adults being very like sarcastic and ironic as a child, and I couldn't at all understand that. So if they were, like, for example, making fun of me, and in their mind it would be innocent, but it can be very uncomfortable for a child, like when you ask, or like you ask a question that for an adult is very obvious, you know, and then everyone starts laughing, and maybe they even think that you're cute, but for you as a child it was a completely honest question, because how are you supposed to know? So
Yeah, the cute thing. Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, it's quite, yeah, I found that quite irritating, you know, just because like I'm a child or of a younger age, the adults would just say it's cute or anything just because of my age. And yeah, like you said, but it was a question that like was legitimate, and I wanted the answer to, you know, I didn't mean it as anything but that.
yeah, exactly. So that's something that we as adults can, you know, that we can prevent children from developing this experience of fear, that we can actually take responsibility for. But Anthony, I wanted to ask you here before we leave for today, do you have any tips or suggestions for anyone out there who may still be facing this fear of asking questions, asking for support, and who would like to also walk the process that you've been busy walking for themselves? Do you have any suggestions on how to get started with that?
Yeah, so with the asking of assistance and support, I'd say, yeah, like definitely like do it for yourself mainly, but also like do it, like we said earlier, like do it for another person as well, because they could have the same question as you do. So do it for like everybody. And like don't fear to speak up, you know, like you're not going to lose anything from not asking for assistance or support. You're only going to gain. So you've got nothing to lose. And in relation to, did you want me to talk about in relation to Desteni, my process?
Yeah, sure. That would be cool.
Yeah, yeah. The DIP Light course, like I think that's the best first step to take, because that's where you learn the basics of the mind and like how to work your way out of thoughts and emotions and feelings. So I think that's like a key step for anybody who's willing to change themselves, and that's all free. And yeah, you just go on from there within the Desteni course and process.
Very cool. All right, so let's take it up to here for today. Anthony, sorry, so much. Thank you so much for being here. It was really cool to have you share this. This is actually a very, like you said before the hangout started, you know, it seems like such a simple point, you know, or you said it in the hangout, but it's actually, you know, it's something that can really influence your entire life, and like in your experience, potentially actually create consequences that last your entire life. So definitely suggest to embrace the challenge of learning how to ask for support and assistance when needed. So Anthony, thank you so much for being here. And we will be back tomorrow, I believe, with a movie hangout. And I think it is, let me just remember, it is The Never Ending Story. And, you know, it's, I think it's from the early 90s, that movie, and it's actually really good. So if you haven't watched it, it's kind of a children's movie, very like a fantasy movie, and it has a lot of really cool sort of existential topics in it as well. Have you seen it, Anthony?
I can't say I have, but yeah, I'll check it out. Yeah, I'll watch the movie review and then check it out after that. So yeah.
Yeah, I often do that as well. Like, I wasn't interested in a movie, but then after they did the Desteni movie review, I'm like, oh, okay, now it sounds interesting. Let me go watch
Yeah,
it.
piqued your interest. Yeah.
So they kind of give a lot of spoilers as well. So.
Oh, so it can be a bit risky. Yeah.
All right, so we will see everyone tomorrow, and thank you so much for today, and bye.